Hey everybody, so here's a new episode. This is the Jem'hadar wrist tricorder from DS9. This was originally made by Stephen Horch. Some of you know he was my business partner for HMS Critter Productions. I'm happy I found this piece so that I could go ahead and tell you about it. This was a piece that came in from Joe Longo on DS9. This is one of those pieces that I didn't personally want to do, and Steve was the first one to go, hey, I'll do that piece. That looks pretty cool. We were talking to Joe Longo, Rick Sternbach, and I believe Robert Delgado. I think that's who this was Robert Delgado, but I'm not sure. This actually might be John Eves. I'm not positive on that. You can correct me below in the comments. This piece, Steve Horch actually sculpted this as a vacuform tool. So you would vacuform the main shell of this piece, which is all of this, and then you would vacuform a second piece directly over top of that. Because what you would do is you would take the original first piece, which is down in the crack here, and you would start there. You would come in and start cutting your holes and everything. And then that piece that was vacuformed over the first piece is what this outside edge and these detail parts here are made out of. So you cut those out into the shapes that you want and glue them onto it. These are styrene evergreen strip that's just been chopped into little buttons and so on. This is, once again, I believe evergreen or plastistruck, one of the two, styrene tubes. Now I'm going to show you the back here. So you can see that there is, well, you really can't see that much, I don't think. You'll probably see it better than I can on my screen right up here. So part of my background, I worked in aerospace, and I've done a lot of toy prototyping and so on. So when I started working on Next Generation, I was bringing how I liked to build things. So in this particular case for DS9, I passed that information on to Steve of how I would like it to be made for reproduction and so on. So Steve, did the sculpture, the vacuform parts, assembled everything, and then we came in with Bondo to thicken up once again. A thin part is really hard to cast, and then it's very weak. Now, the other thing we did was we added these threaded inserts here into the master so that when we were going to mold this, we would put a threaded, you took a screw and cut the head off of it, and you would put a threaded insert onto that and then stick it in the mold where the threads would be sticking out of here. So if you've done molds, you kind of understand it. So basically, you would have your open face mold with threaded inserts sticking out into the air where this mold is going to be closed around it. And then we would inject resin into the mold, which would then encapsulate these threaded inserts so that we had metal on metal screws and threads. So when this piece was going to be applied to that piece, one, the holes all line up to your piece below it. And when you put the screw in, you'd be screwing directly into metal rather than screwing in the plastic, which some people still do it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but if you have to take this apart and put batteries in it over and over and over again, like we do on movie sets, you then end up having the issue with putting that screw in. If you just slightly overturn it one little eighth of a turn, you could pull out all of the threads and have nothing but just a hole there now, and you can try and put the screw in it, but it won't work. That being said, on this particular piece, we had a red piece of plexi here with another shape similar to that in the center of it. This lit up. We had a chasing circuit on these 6 lights here. It had a switch, which was here, and that was a push-on, push-off Alco switch, which was one of my favorite switches of the time. Because I used to like to use it on everything because it was compact enough to be able to be used. So in general, you know, it's one of my things. So when we did this piece, this is acrylic, by the way. When we did this piece, we ended up having to make rubbers of these as well, because you were always seeing a Jem'hadar getting shot. So he'd have to, you know, fly up in the air and fall down. So you couldn't have a hero one of these on his arm, because it actually could end up impaling him in one way or another. We did stunt copies of this, and those were solid rubber copies. So basically we would have taken, when this was molded flat down on the surface, so with a piece of plastic in there and tape across those. To do rubber copies of this, all we actually would do is we would take the lid that would make all of this channel and everything in here out of the mold, and then just pour this solid with rubber. So it would be this thick solid rubber, and then come in and do a little piece of detail there, and we actually did use cut off LED heads and stick them in those holes. So that kind of, you know, worked out, because it made it easier for us not to have to try and paint something like that. It ended up looking more realistic and matching the hero versions. So that's one of the props right there that Steve Horch himself made. He did a fantastic job on this. It's DS9, but I don't remember what season in reality. This is one of Steve Horch's very first pieces when he was working for us at Proper Effects, which was my previous company. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please put them below in the comments. Hope you all enjoyed these videos. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.